Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be showing you the Bugatti Divo at max in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. I've never made a multiplayer video about this car, but Asphalt 89 has given me some races in his nearly golden max Bugatti Divo, with all of the epics on top speed and acceleration, and only a couple missing on handling and nitro. So a lot of you may remember this car for the absolutely ridiculously difficult event that it was in, with some calling it even worse than the Bugatti Divo event depending on what you were going for. Basically, if you were just going for the Bugatti or the Divo event was worse overall because you would have to spend more money on it in order to get the car. However, the Divo event did have the ability to get some other cars in it without spending any money, which you really don't get in the Divo event, so it all depended on what you went into the events going for. Now, the Divo, when it first came out, had one of the worst drifting radiuses in all of Class S, and this was something, again, that turned a lot of people away from getting it. This coupled with the fact that it wasn't as good as the Regera and the Chiron, which were required to be at max in order to get this car to begin with, which means that anybody who was able to get this car didn't need it because they already had better cars. And so I don't really understand what was the point of this event, them making it the way they did, but in any case, they did make the drifting radius better. As you can see throughout this video, these races were recorded after the buff for the drifting of this car, because I don't think it was ever meant to be as bad as it originally was, because, I mean, the handling stat isn't even all that bad, which I know doesn't directly affect the drifting radius per se. It more affects how quickly you lose speed when drifting, but it still seemed quite a bit off, and I'm glad they fixed it. Now, let me explain why I do not think this car is actually worth it to go for in pretty much any case, even if you had the ability to go for it. I mentioned one of the reasons already that you would have had to have the Chiron and the Regera already quite high in rank in order to even get this car, and that right there makes it not really worth it to get. And it only goes 255 miles per hour at max, which is definitely a good speed overall in the game. It's faster than all A-class cars. The problem is you obviously cannot drive this car until you get to Legend League, in which case you'll be facing a lot of high-end S-Class cars. And the Zenvo, the Fenner, pretty much any of the other high-end S-Class cars are going to be faster than this one here, and generally better for multiplayer. While this car does have quite good acceleration, drifting, and handling, with the acceleration being one of the highest in the game actually, it's just not enough overall to counteract the fairly low top speed for such a high-ranked car. Now, in these races, you will see Asphalt 89 pull out some great victories and some extremely close races in it against a lot of the high-end S-Class cars that I was just talking about. The problem is, a lot of these cars are easier to get than this one here. It is not easy to get this car at max as Asphalt 89 did. Most people who got this car probably got it at much lower stars, in which case it's not even going to be as good as you see here. And as you'll probably see throughout this races, although he's able to get ahead at the beginning, I mean, the acceleration's really good. It's just not a car that's able to pull away, and other high-end S-Class cars, such as the one catching up to him right now, are just faster and generally going to be better. Like, that's a Chiron right there. Generally speaking, I would take the Chiron over the Divo if I had them both max pretty much any day, because the Chiron is just 30 miles per hour faster, and it drifts really well, its acceleration is really good, the nitro efficiency is good enough, and basically, I just don't see any reason to use this car instead of the Chiron, which you need in order to get it. It really comes down to that in the end. But if we stop thinking about how worth it this car is for a while and just think about how it actually drives in the races, and it looks quite fun. I mean, it is probably one of the more fun cars in the game to drive, with the drifting radius becoming much better and the acceleration being so good you can get ahead of almost anybody at the beginning of the races. But even in this case, the Chiron has been on the butt of this car pretty much the entire race. Asphalt 89 does pull out the victory here, but it was a very close race against a lower ranked Bugatti Chiron. I believe that is a 4-star one. Now we have a race which does not feature a bunch of higher end S-Class cars. The only S-Class car in this race, I'm pretty sure, is this Icona right here, which is slower than this Divo. So if you get a race like this, you should be pretty much good to go in this car, but once you get to a really high rating and you've got a bunch of Yescos and stuff that you're coming up against, It's not going to be easy at all for you. And honestly, even when I was driving the Bugatti Chiron, I would get passed by Yescos and lose because of that. With this car, it would be even worse. I also have not made a multiplayer video about the Bugatti LVN, so hopefully I will have that coming soon for you guys as well. Also, the Murcielago and the new Mazzanti. The new multiplayer season that we've got going on, there's a bunch of cars, but I think those two are definitely the most worthwhile ones for me to test. The other ones I've already tested previously, which I do like testing again if I can, but generally what I do is when I get a season that has all of these max cars, I pick just a couple that I play throughout the entire season, and that's how I'm able to put together a compilation of interesting races all the time, because I record so many and I pick a fairly small percentage of them a lot of the time, not always. Sometimes I just record like 9 or so and use maybe 7 for a video, but that's very rare cases. Usually I record more than that, and then I pick the most interesting ones to show you. If I were to play just a few races in all of the cars, I probably wouldn't end up making videos about all of them, and the ones that I really wanted to, I wouldn't have as many races to choose from. And so I just think this is overall a better strategy for me. So in this race, the Bugatti's up against an SSC Tuatara as well as a Trion Nemesis. I've always found it quite interesting that the Trion Nemesis only maxes out around 4,000 rank, when it is better than this car that Asphalt 89 is driving right here, and many of the cars that are higher ranked than it in the low 4,000s. And it is debatably even better than the Regera in some cases, and so I have no idea why they put it so low. Maybe it's just because the nitro and the handling are so low, and so Gameloft didn't think it would be as good as it is. But whatever the case, it's just kind of weird seeing it sit toward the bottom of Class S, along with the FXXK and the Icona and the Lycan, when it's so much better than those. It feels like a whole nother league. So we now come to the end of this race. The SSC Tuatara was not able to catch up throughout it, and therefore we come in first by 4 seconds ahead of him, and the Trion Nemesis doesn't do so great in this one. And now it's time for the final race in the video, which is on Nevada. And I must say, I didn't mention this earlier, but I really like this decal on the Divo. And I don't usually use asphalt art for the thumbnails of my multiplayer videos, but I decided to in this case because the one that I found there with this decal I just liked so much, and I never used it anywhere else, so I decided, you know what, why not, we'll try it. So our main competitor in this final race is a Rimac C2, and we will see how this goes, because so far it's been a real dogfight. And now it's time for my general review about the Bugatti Divo. If you just look at this car stats and pay no attention to where it is in any class or anything like that, it looks very good. The top speed is quite high in general in the game, the acceleration is one of the best, and the handling and nitro are definitely quite good. However, the problem with it, as you can see in this race, is that all of that goodness cannot make up for the lack of speed compared to other high-end S-Class cars in a lot of cases. Even this Rimac, which is not one of the fastest cars in the game, it's maybe 270-ish at max, still passing this Divo and better by 15 miles per hour. And my goodness, that was some crazy barrel rolls right there. So overall, while the Divo is a fun car and apparently likes doing crazy stunts, it is really not a worth it one to go for if you have any of the other high-end S-Class cars like the Jesko or Chiron. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content. And I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!